Good morning to you. I am at Salem State Forest, which is a big tract of land that was bought on the north side of St. Mary's Lake. And St. Mary's Lake was one of the places I was at in the summer, or in the winter, excuse me, hiking in the snow. And we're gonna see. I've never really been even past the power line with the boys, so we're gonna try to come down this way, hook into the trail around the lake, go around the trail here, and I think what I'll do is I'll cut out on the new trail, shortcut forest road back here, do this little loop, and then come back across, hit some of these trails in the middle, and wind up just down the road here to come back to the parking lot. We'll see how much that is and how much of it works. The weather update, it's just after 7. I was in the parking lot at 7. Front came through yesterday. We had a few scattered storms, and so now it is clear, remarkably still actually. I imagined it was going to be windy, but it's mid-60s and only supposed to get to about 73, 74 today, so gorgeous day for hiking. The one thing I'm worried about on this trail, other than this area having a lot of old roads, I think it was built primarily just as an excuse for hunter access. And so not only is it old roads, but then they came and dumped what amounts to gravel on it. And I think you can see the old stone. It's a lot of chopped up concrete and stuff. So anyway, what I'm worried about, aside from that, is last time I was back here with the boys, it was very wet. I mean, there were areas where it was a lake about 3 or 4 inches deep in places that you had to cross, in significant size. And it has been raining here all week long. So I'm thinking that I might encounter some of that, but we'll deal with that when we have to. The color of the water from the tannins in the leaves, it's like iced tea. It's full of tadpoles. Very suddenly I've gone from areas of old clear cut that are now growing back up to a nice mature woods, and I think it's because I basically just crossed into St. Mary's Lake State Park, and I'm headed out to the lake. The clear cut areas and following the old road, it wasn't much to look at, but I tried to capture some of the sound there. Lots of birds. And I was trying to catch him, but I don't think I did on the audio. There was a white-tailed buck off in the thicket that was snorting and calling, which is sort of an impressive sound, but you know, you don't, unless you're a hunter and you're tuned into all that all the time, you don't necessarily think of whitetails as being a vocal animal, but this one sure was. And another hawk feather. That's the second one laying on the trail I've seen. One of the things that's hard to capture here, I've gotten pretty good, I think, at giving you the video, the sights, and the sounds. But the smells, of course, I can't can't get. And it's been an interesting transition. You know, back when I started in the winter, it was sort of a crisp, almost sterile kind of aroma, and now you've gone through the flowers blooming and the wet leaves underfoot. But every once in a while you'll catch something else, like a musk kind of smell, and you wonder, is there a groundhog den near here that I just picked up, or I just caught like an unmistakable smell of skunk, just for a second. And I wish we were as good as dogs, for example, at picking up on that stuff and getting a better picture of what's going on. So I'm truly descending into single track here. The trail's just getting smaller and smaller as it heads into the woods, which is where I'd rather be anyway. So. This trail looks totally different when it's not covered with snow. It's nice back here. I need to come do this one again, just to appreciate the seasonal change. Last time I saw this lake from this angle, it was frozen solid. I bet you can really see the state park boundary back there. It's where all the trees stop being only 15 feet tall. It doesn't take much coming out of there for the whole environment to change. And like I say, this area I think was clear cut for timber at one point. And now it's got a state forest designation. What I don't know is, does that mean it's being managed and protected for the next round of logging, or is it being allowed to regenerate? It's certainly not planted like a tree farm. There's all kinds of different species mixed in here. So yeah, I don't really know. I believe it was just to set aside some land for hunter access and to connect these two plots, but I don't know what the grand plan is. Anyway, I'm back into it. I'm on the new trail. That's the name of it, the new trail. Headed back up into Salem, and we'll see where this takes me. I just took a turn off the new onto something called the shortcut trail. And it's just, and this is obviously, is a tree farm. All these uniform little pine trees, although there's some undergrowth. It's got an interesting hallway effect though. It's kind of neat in its own way. Smells nice in here too. Very piney. What's also interesting though is that it's gotten really quiet in only about 100 yards. Out even where the fields are growing back up, the bird song is nonstop. They're just all out there talking to each other. You get in here and there's nothing, and I don't know, I got to imagine that the habitat's too sterile or something. I found a little wild creature that I'm actually quick enough to get a camera on. I'm on the pine trail now. headed sort of back down towards the lake. This is still within the state forest, but it's clearly a whole different kind of woods. Changes quickly. So again, I wasn't quick enough, but that was kind of strange. I came around a corner and I stopped because there was something in the trail and I couldn't figure out what it was. At first I thought maybe it's a snake, but what it really looked like was the chopped off ends of two sticks about the size of your forearm. But they looked similar and they kind of had some stripe patterns to them, and I just couldn't figure it out. So I decided that I could approach closely and carefully. I took one step and they both took off. They were I don't know what they were. They were so quick. A little too big for quail. A little too low to the ground for grouse. I think it might have been like a nighthawk or a whippoorwill, Chuck-will's willow, that kind of thing. They kind of had that look about them. But yeah, I wish I could have got a camera on that. That was startling almost, because I was looking straight at them and still couldn't tell what they were until they flew. It's kind of cool. I must be close to a nest. We got one here and one up above me. Going crazy. So I'm going to move on. So the trail on the map that is unnamed just suddenly petered out. But if I look high, I can see how there's a sort of an avenue between the pines here that indicate that this is where an old road might have been, and it's now just being overgrown with these sweet gum trees. And I've had a lot of back and forth through here and GPS hitting a couple of intersections, so I know I'm not too far from the forest road. But the truth is, this has turned into a bushwhack. And I gotta pick my way carefully through here. I'm not gonna get lost, but I might get fall into a pile of thorns or something. So yeah, I was just thinking about this state forest here, this whole area. People like to make trails around landmarks. It's either around the lake or to the summit or to the rock view, or this certainly doesn't have that. This is this takes a little bit more willingness to look at the small stuff. I just flushed a dove. You probably heard it. To look at the small stuff, appreciate that every one of these little environments is an ecosystem, is a home for a bunch of different plants and animals that are thriving or struggling, as the case may be. Whether or not it's got the big views or anything that would make it appealing to us recreationally, something lives here. And so you have to slow down and sort of take a look at it from that perspective. And I've had quite a few surprises today. A lot of birds and toads, of course. A lot of different environments as far as the trees go. Turtle. Several encounters, where I would say the birds are interacting. Spiderweb. Where the birds are interacting with me, right? They're not just there. So, and now of course, I'm wading through a pine forest. So, it's interesting. Let me take a look here in this clearing in my GPS and see if I can figure out where I am and where I need to go. But you can see kind of the slop through the pine trees. And you can see it right there too, where all of the short stuff is growing up in this hole. So I think this is an old road that'll probably get me back, you know, somewhere near where I want to be. Ta-da! Back on Forest Road. At least I think that's where I am. The intersections that way and that way that I'm marked would seem to indicate that that's what this is. So, successful bushwhacking. That's a wild turkey. Actually sounds like he's up in a tree, but actually I should say she, that's probably a hen. Also, I just flushed a white-tailed deer a second ago, and it ran full speed into that. It just fascinates me how they can do that and not get themselves hung up. I'm at 7.5 miles. I'm headed back out, but I had to share. I had the good fortune that another one of those camouflage birds that looked like a log just happened to land pretty much right in front of me, and he made like a weird little noise, almost like a bubble popping. He kind of did one of these as he flew in, and that caught my attention. And he sat still long enough for me to get a good look at him, and tried to take a picture, but that was hard. Dark bird sitting in a dark thicket, but definitely a one of the nighthawk kind of birds. I'm guessing, but just because we hear them so much around here, that it was a Chuck Will's widow. Yeah, somehow, I don't know, luck on my side that he would come by and just sit and let me take a look. He made another little bubble popping sound when he took off. I don't know, it's just neat. I believe that's a deer scapula, shoulder blade, and a leg bone. And, oh look. More pieces. And more. And yeah, okay, so I was gonna say, weird for a hunter to come in here and, you know, tear the carcass apart. But I believe something died, and probably the buzzards tore it apart. I am so close and yet so far away. This trail is full of these lakes every 100 yards or so, and it's slow going. I know I'm close. I can start to hear the highway. I hear Route 4 over that way, and Indian Bridge Road's up in front of me. Although I can't hear it, it's not as much traffic. So, here's another lake. just to give you an idea here. And the woods are thick on both sides, so it's not like there's a lot of alternative just to walk around it. Oh well, here we go. So wrapping up, coming out here onto Indian Bridge Road, just down from the parking lot where I started, about a 1/10 of a mile down. So 8.5 miles all told. If I had to sum up, you know, there were some interesting things to observe back there, but that area has a lot of maturing to do, as does the maintenance of it. I think, you know, pretty much everything north of that, I think it was Crosscut Road, if you look at the map, everything north of that was pretty much a swath where somebody had come through with a bulldozer and knocked the trees down, or an old road that had existed before. The one that was called Barefoot Trail must have been a joke because it was just littered with, you know, thumb size and inch diameter stumps that were sticking up about 2 or 3 inches everywhere. So, and everywhere in between was either, you know, old tree farms or just sort of growing back up, recovering. It may be one of these things that years from now, it'll be a nice area, but you need to do more than just plow down the trees to call it a trail. Right? There needs to be some good grading and some good choice of route in there, and they could do that. South of that was very nice, and I think not coincidentally, south of that was where you would see trail signs, where somebody had actually taken care, you know, Boy Scout or somebody had made little wooden signs with painted lettering on it. So the new trail, shortcut trail, Pine Trail, was a very nice one. And of course all that connects into the lake trail around St. Mary's Lake, and that's a great one too. So down there close to the state park, it was really nice. And then up here, you know, still some good stuff. I mean, wild turkeys, deer, found the box tortoise, you know, lots of toads, lots of birds. It definitely was a nice morning. But you know, of the places I've been, definitely not the best. That's all right. Part of this is exploring new territory, and I'm still getting the workout in. Like I say, 8.5 miles. So, good day.